I can let you guys love each other.
We do.
But even more
This
so
is a good
today.
day.
I bet it is.
In the background, I'm not sure how to turn it on.
You know what? Sorry about that.
Can we can do that, right?
Just turn it off at the
Do you want her hat on or off?
Oh, you're good. Whatever you want. Look,
Or
you guys are doing
can I put the hat on?
All right.
I'm going to move my microphone forward.
Thank you for
Well,
giving us
you're
a few
muted
minutes.
with him.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I wanna move.
You want yours
Do
moved
you want me to
closer?
pour you some water?
A little bit
Yeah,
closer.
okay, let's do
Hear
that.
you.
Just so you have it. Then we can get the picture out of the way.
It's fair game, right?
Yeah,
You can take pictures
you
of
take
the,
pictures of us, yeah.
Please don't take my picture today. I didn't do my hair.
No, I didn't either. That's why I'm wearing a hat.
All right.
More important things.
So, right. So thank you for being here. We have a great story today. This is Nathan's family. His mother, Gabe Mitchell, his father, Chuck Mitchell, and his sister, Becky Mitchell. So I'm going to let you all take it away. And, yeah.
Chuck, do you have an update on how Nate is doing and how is he doing?
Well, Nate's doing great, and he looks great. His spirits are up. According to the doctor, he has a condition called trench foot, and that's from the first war. And in the first war, people that were soldiers in the trenches got really sore feet from being cold, and that's the only significant problem that he has. He's a little bruised up. He's a little dehydrated, and they're going to keep him overnight. He's taking some pain control medication for this foot problem, but other than that, he's doing remarkably well.
How are his spirits? Yeah.
He seems a little bit traumatized, but all in all, I mean, he's making jokes, and he just seems happy to have the support, and understandably exhausted himself, and so.
What can you guys share with us about what he's told you about what exactly happened?
Why don't you do that,
Becky?
Becky?
Well, what I know is that, you know, he went up hiking, he went on a day hike, and so he packed for a day hike, and he left early. So I think he was being pretty responsible in that respect. He even picked up some rain pants on the way and a beanie. So he, you know, went pretty far. He got to the top of Boulder Ridge. It's about a 14-mile round-trip hike. And, you know, a really nasty storm came in. What I'm aware of is at that point in time, he kind of hunkered down to protect himself from the storm. It was getting dark. He tried to start walking back towards the car. So he fell asleep eventually. I think, you know, he got a little sick. He was scared. And then while he was sleeping, it's my understanding that he, you know, tumbled a little bit down the hill.
And it's a jungle out there. Nathan has hiked with me in Peru. He's been in Panama hiking. He's been all over the Northwest. He's well accustomed to the terrain that's out there. But this side of Mount Hood is a jungle. And once you get in there, you become disoriented because everything looks kind of the same. And he was disoriented, and he followed the old rubric that my father taught me, and I was taught to go downhill to the stream to try to get out. I've learned since then that in this area that wasn't the best choice.
What did he do to pass his time all week? I mean, he was mobile, right? Even though like he was sore and tired and all that. I mean, how do you pass your time out there?
Well, he talked about sleeping during the day.
Yeah.
So I think he did quite a bit of sleeping.
And I think he was mobile, like.
He tried to find the trail. He's a tough guy, and he tried to find the trail, so he'd hike uphill, and he'd stumble, and he'd get a little injured, and then he'd find this tree at night. That kind of complicated things for the search and rescue people because of the dense forest canopy that's there. So infrared work. We didn't have infrared on scene, but it would have been difficult. The helicopters couldn't find him from above. It just became more difficult. What he did right, well, what he did during the day that he told me, I'll get back to your question, I'm sorry, is he prayed. And he's not a very religious person, but in the trenches there are very few atheists. He prayed, he walked, he thought about getting out, and he thought about life. And he thought about good things about life. And he was afraid as well.
Mom, how are you doing? I mean, like, your son's alive. And I mean, you've seen
Oh.
reports, you've seen us cover stories like this that don't end like this.
I know.
mean, what are your emotions right now?
Well, we're a little tired right now. This is day 5 for us. 5 nights and 5 days. So I'm a little tired, but it is probably the happiest day of my life. The nights have been very hard. We held it together during the day. We kept everyone going. Amazing numbers of people came out for Nate. It's mind-boggling. I'm sure it's in the hundreds now, different groups. And so we kept them fed, we kept them going. We had people organizing different teams going different locations. And so it's pretty exhausting, but it's also, like I said, the best possible outcome. And, you know, I didn't know it would be this good. We're very lucky.
He had just a single bottle of water and no food, correct?
Correct, 5 days, no
He
food.
didn't
What did
eat.
he eat? What did,
He didn't eat.
He didn't eat.
at all.
He drank a lot of stream water, and he has a little concern about getting giardia, but he hasn't had the effects of that, and probably won't. That's, you know, you can live for a very, very long time without food, but water. And one thing he said is, the stream water up there is really pure and beautiful, and he really enjoyed drinking it. Yeah,
Although he's glad that's in the rearview mirror, I'm sure.
I bet, yeah, you betcha.
Has he mentioned at all, you know, when he gets out, hopefully tomorrow, with the hospital, anything he wants to do to celebrate that he's back?
Well, the first thing he asked for was a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I don't think he's really thought that far. You know, he's kind of,
It may take time to
He's in
process
shock a
this,
little bit.
yeah.
Did he get that cheeseburger?
Oh,
yeah, it's sitting in his room. I hope he gets to eat it.
He ate some of it, yeah.
Can you walk us through that moment? Because you guys didn't get to see him up at the trailhead. Did you, or was it here at the hospital?
We've had a,
Can you walk us through that moment,
What-
what it was like to see him for the first time?
well, let me back up. When Alex Johnson's his best friend, Alex and I worked with Scott Myers of the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office in a really tight way, and we were looking at things in not the most positive way this morning. It was a fearful time, and we were going to go, not for Myers, but for Alex and I. And so we were going to go over to the command center and kind of talk things over, and someone came out and said, "We've got news." So when you hear we've got news, you're the news guys. News can go bad or it can go good. And sometimes your mind goes to these dark places. So Alex and I sat there, we hugged, we felt anxious, and then they came out and said it was good. And it was a euphoric feeling, and then they wanted us to hold it in to confirm what had actually transpired, to make sure it was him, to make sure it was okay. And we went to meet our very large group of friends and found Gay. And then what happened?
And then there was just a huge eruption in the parking lot. People were screaming, they were yelling, they were dancing. People were bringing champagne. These people have been working 5 days.
These folks worked
for Nate.
really hard.
And it was just an eruption of sound and rejoicing and crying. Lots of people were crying because we didn't know this would be our outcome. It was better than we had hoped.
Nate was, you guys didn't get to see Nate. Nate didn't come back to Wildwood Recreation Site. He was
Right.
taken directly to the hospital.
Becky was on the trail when he was found,
Yeah.
and
so-
she ran down and
Yeah, I was shortly behind two of his best friends, actually from Boy Scouts, ironically.
who did
Um,
survival training with him.
Found him, Brian Wynn and Charlie Davis, and another gentleman, Trent. So they had left about a half hour before a group of 4 of us were out, just kind of walking up on the ridges, and it's kind of sketchy, but as we would take turns, and as we got back down to the trail, this guy came running down that I didn't recognize and said that we found Nate and he's down the trail, so we just ran as fast as we could to go meet him, and kind of just, you know, slid down this ravine, and yeah, it was a really beautiful moment. We're just so happy that he's okay, and you know, you can tell he's in a lot of pain with his feet, but he refused to let us help him, and he walked out by himself, and it was a
He
really,
walked out himself, yeah.
I mean, yeah,
He didn't want to be
he's a
carried.
badass. It's really cool.
Mr. Mitchell, I'm curious, your last statement, you mentioned the day started, you were pretty fearful. Did you think that if he wasn't found today, the search was going to scale back, or are you being told by law enforcement the odds are not good after like a 5th day, or
Yes,
what?
yes.
That's exactly what.
I don't really want to expand on that a great deal, but we worked really well with the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office, and I appreciate everything they did, and I think they were doing everything in the most appropriate way. But we had discussions about when the plug was going to get pulled on this rodeo, and there was no decision made, and I had convened a group of my friends who are experts in this morning, and we discussed how to try to convince our sheriff, who's a great guy, to maybe extend the search beyond Sunday, because we didn't know if he was going to come out or not. And it was a very frustrating thing, and I think that's the route we would have gone, and we were coming up with contingency plans, because I knew my son was going to last and he was going to be tough, and that we might find him with a broken leg or he might be dead, but he was out there and we were going to find him. So it was a very, very tough morning, and we didn't need all those contingency plans because things worked out really well. And that's because it's ironic that Charlie Davis, who was his Boy Scout friend, and they took, and Brian Wynn, who was also his friend, who did survival training in Boy Scouts, found him because there were 80. This is the biggest search that Clackamas County has probably ever done for 5 days. It might have ended on day 7, and it's
We don't know.
We don't know. It might not have been either, because these are great people. But it was ironic that his friends and family found him. They were just part of this huge team of professionals. These professionals are so well trained and so dedicated. They're not paid. These people come from all over. There are 9 teams from 9 counties in the state sent people here to help my boy.
And we can't tell you how grateful we are to all of them. There was Portland Mountain Rescue, Lynn County Sheriff, Lane County Sheriffs were there.
Yam Hill.
Benton County.
Deschutes.
It just went on, and every day new groups would come. And
they were all great people to work with.
All of them.
These are heroes. They didn't. One guy, we were walking the trail, and I walk the trail every day too, and I'm exhausted. But one of the Ken, the guy I worked with, Ken Snell, I said, well, I hope the family's not in the way. I hope they're not getting in the way. And he said, no, you don't know who's going to come down with the prize, who's going to come out with the prize. And Charlie got lucky, and we got lucky.
What is the recovery road ahead? What does that look like, at least right now?
I think Nate, we don't know how his physically, can I comment? Physically, he's going to be, I anticipate he'll be released from the hospital tomorrow with no residual effects from this problem. And except some bruises and some big stories to tell. Psychologically, I don't know. We're going to have to see how that winds out.
Yeah.
I think people that have this type of injury need a little time.
Yeah, he's on pain medication right now, so it's a little hard to gauge, how he's going to be tomorrow. But his spirits are very good.
His friends, we've had a bunch of people that have been able to visit with him today, and they all acknowledge this is just remarkable. Mm-hmm. It's remarkable how positive. My kid is a positive guy to start with. We hiked last week up on Table Mountain. We did 18 miles together. He said it's the biggest bonding experience he'd had with me in his life. And the one theme that he had is, Dad, never go to the dark side, never go to the negative. Well, I didn't listen to that, and I was wrong.
And, I think it's important to note that we had so much support from family and friends, like an overwhelming amount of support, and we couldn't have done that without them. I mean, we had friends come up and hike at 3 in the morning and, go down underneath cliffs, and it was just incredible.
People flew in from Idaho. A friend of mine was in court in Orange County, and he flew up the next day as soon as he heard about this. People came from Washington. It was I...
It was quite
I'm in awe.
remarkable.
I'm in absolute awe.
Yeah, I'm in awe as well. People that we hadn't seen in years showed up, and I'll never be able to thank them all.
Nathan's
because-
babysitter showed up.
Yeah,
Yeah, and his kindergarten friend I hadn't seen since kindergarten, and part of that's social media. They all knew about
The social
it.
media thing was really important, don't you think, Becky?
Yeah,
absolutely.
you did a lot of that.
Yeah, I really just, I mean, when you get into like sort of a survival mindset, it's kind of like the more feet on the ground, the more eyes out there. You know, we wanted to work as best as we could with search and rescue, but it was also very important for us to have our friends and family out there searching as well. And so I just tried to communicate at least like once a day, you know, like we're still very hopeful, like if you can't come out and hike, come out and give my mom and Marcia a hug, his wife. But it absolutely, I mean, it was astounding how many people showed up and how much support we received.
And as a consequence, we now have a community, the Find Nathan community, and you know, there's hundreds, and so tonight we're all going to celebrate together, and we may stay in touch and remain a community.
And you might just answer this, but you know, this obviously the story's garnered a lot of attention, and we're so glad it ended this way. What do you want people to take away from this? What's
Yeah.
the most important thing?
Let's take
The most important thing I want to be taken away from this is the wilderness is the most beautiful place in this state. It's where we go to play. It's where we live. And it's also a really nasty place if it wants to be. People have to go out there prepared, especially mushroom hunters and hikers, because what may seem to be a placid, wonderful environment can turn into a disaster zone real quick. I was up at, when I got the call at 1 in the morning from Marcia, I was up in the middle of this storm that we all experienced a couple of days ago. There were trees down, the wind was blowing 60 miles an hour. It was nasty. And the weather here can turn like that. The mountain weather, you look out the window, 1 minute it's one thing, the next minute it's another.
And what I've gotten from this is what's really important in life, and that's the people you love. And when you go through something like this, you find out who your true friends are and your family, and you realize all those things that you worry about during the day don't matter at all. Those people are that's what you live for. I'll never be able to thank everybody enough.
And I'll never be the same.
We'll never be the same after this experience. Hopefully we'll be better people.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
Later, son.
And the one other thing is, I was a trial attorney for a long time and a district attorney for, I don't know, let's cut. Okay. And I don't really enjoy working with the media all that much, but I got to tell you that the function that you guys served in giving positive support to this rescue was wonderful.
Yeah. We had only good
We have
experiences with the
only good
media.
experiences.
Only good.
It's a nice outcome. I don't know if we'd be saying that